Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the off season. We are in absolute full swing. Trade rumors, contract negotiations, people reading too much into 49ers players' posts, social media, digging through who they follow, who they don't follow. This is peak off season. And if you haven't been here before, welcome. This is nothing new. But we have Deebo Samuel. He's tired of it. He's sick of it. He called it out. He said, I'm done. So we're going to talk. And he put out a bunch of tweets, and then it sounds like he's going dark for a while. But he had to address some things because I think some people were bugging off some things that he posted to social media. Obviously, there's a lot of conversation around his dude, Brandon Aiyuk, and we know what it is, man. It's the off season. There's no football, and so things are very dry out there. So hey, the football world doesn't stop though. So people find other things to consume themselves with, and with social media being so readily available and players posting to it all the time, it's very natural for people to kind of look at it and probably overanalyze it. So let's take a look at what Deebo Samuel's talking about over here on Twitter. He says, "Can we have a life when football season is over? Like, can we travel, enjoy ourselves, go out and have fun without fans saying all this unnecessary shit? Folks be bugging." I mean, he's really not wrong. I think there is he's really not wrong. It's just this new era of social media and the way that people talk about sports and players that's evolved. Even back when I started this, a big part of this brand, was a huge emphasis on social media and how players engaged and interacted on social media. So for me personally, these are trends that I've studied. I've been on top of them. How players interact on social media since the very beginning. This is what I do. I would consider myself a social media expert, especially in this sports world. So that includes fan behavior. That includes player behavior. That includes media behavior. These are all things that I study and track and have been doing this since before I even started this page back in 2017. So this is I totally understand what he's talking about. This new era that we live in of social media. I mean, you look at some of the posts underneath here or the comments. They're just taking shots at him. Like, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. We live in a world where trolls live to troll. And then he quote tweets and says, Saquon Barkley, he says, "Man, I tell you what, some of you got on this app and just reach for anything." So Deebo Samuel feels the same. And then he goes on to say, "And no, I ain't talking about no trade rumors or your make believe false reports." And then he says, "Uno off here. See you in July." And that's the last apparently we will hear from Deebo Samuel until July. Hey, take some time, Deebo. Take some time, get off social media. I totally understand. If this wasn't my job and I didn't have to do this every single day, I would absolutely be off the grid right now. But that's not how it works. This is the life that I have chosen. So we talk, we react, we look, we see, and we hear from a lot of different people. And I get it. Like, even right now, obviously the main thing around not only just the San Francisco 49ers, it's one of the main storylines in the NFL is Brandon Aiyuk. Everyone wants to know what's going on with Brandon Aiyuk, right? And so everything that Brandon Aiyuk will do from here until he signs the contract will be ultra scrutinized. This is no different than when Deebo Samuel went through this situation. This is no different than when any other contract negotiation is going on. This is the new norm, is that people weed through social media and look for any clue, anything like that. And obviously, the reason why this was all started was with all the stuff after the Super Bowl with people whose Aiyuk surrounds himself with, and that's what got it started. Otherwise, no one would be. I really don't think anyone would be paying attention. Um, but because of that, it put a hyper focus on BA, and then now you're getting all these outside reports from other beat reporters and radio hosts and other markets, and so it creates this conversation and this hyper fixation via social media where people just like they start spinning, they start like they're like, oh no, they start getting worried, so they're like paying attention to every little thing that's posted. And I think like Debo, he last night I believe was at a Lakers game. I think he was courtside for a Lakers game. um I don't know if people were freaking out about that. I don't know if people were giving him a hard time about being courtside at a Lakers game, which maybe prompted this reaction on Twitter. But he's also not wrong. Like that's just I think when you look at his original tweet, can we have a life when football season is over? Like, can we travel and enjoy ourselves, go out and have fun? Of course, I would say that don't post to social media, because the point of what I'm trying to say is fans saying all this unnecessary stuff, folks be bugging. That is the current state of social media. As someone who has been on top of I've been studying social media professionally since 2009. Um, I did it for a job, like social media. I was a social media marketer. I paid attention. I've been paying attention to social media for a long time. That's why I've been able to, I believe, have the success that I've had is because I understand strategically what I am doing. And again, a part of that has to be involving being on top of trends, especially on social media. And the current trend right now within social media is just unnecessary conversation, trolls, people bugging, seeing something and taking it to the nth degree. And obviously, uh, kind of taking away logic and just reacting to things emotionally. And that's kind of what social media has turned into. That's why it's really hard to have like actual conversations. It's hard to have legitimate debates, is because everything is so emotionally driven. No one wants to hear anything that you actually have to say. If you do have a counterpoint, for the most part, there are some good people who are good at having discourse. But over the last 2 years, 3 years, it has really, really rotted away. Um, Social media used to be a place where, for the most part, it was pretty positive. But I mean, it's really taken a turn. And it's really, I think, in part due to, again, a phenomenon that I've been paying attention to that I really started to see back in 2019 is troll culture, is the faceless, nameless type of accounts who basically they just gas each other up with who can insult or who can have the funniest jab and things like that. And there's a difference between like critique and there's a difference between just being out of pocket. And what we are seeing on social media is that if you're out of pocket and it's done in a way that's funny, that's going to get a lot of traction. And there are like troll accounts that have millions of followers on Twitter. It's a complete shift in the dynamic of authoritative figures, people who've worked years and years and years to get where they've been, and the shift in the voice of social media has really kind of gone away. And that's why, like, when you go into these, you go into these, the comments, it's those types of accounts that are clapping back at him and calling him names, and like that didn't exist, I would say 3, 4 years ago. Now that you can't go anywhere with like, it's so rare to find comment sections that are positive, that are uplifting, that like aren't, you know, always count like it's okay to be critical. It's okay to question. Those things are welcomed, but just to be like outright just saying the opposite of what you're saying, just to say it and get the likes, get the see who it really is. Like, if you go to Instagram, it's become like a competition of who can get the most likes on the comment. And so that could either be, there's two forms of it. There is positive avenues in the comments, but the negative side of it has really taken over. And I think it's definitely taken a toll on the athletes because um they're met with a lot of negativity sometimes. We've seen many players deactivate accounts. We see players put their comments on private or accounts. Like, there there definitely effects of, from a psychological standpoint, of people being ultra negative and bombarding you. And we know the 49ers fan base, like, we had Raheem Mostert get injured week 1 in 2021, and our fan base sent him and his wife death threats. Um, our fan base is notorious for sending players that uh, have quote unquote disappointed whoever these people are and really harassing them. And again, another trend that I have studied and watched for a long time. So, on one hand, it's social media, who cares, blah, 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 right? I get it. But it's a microcosm of, I think, where we are as just like people. Social media is such an integrated thing right now, for us. And because of that, um, it it becomes a daily, it's almost routine to hop on social media now. It's part of our lives. It's a part of everything we do. So, I just find it interesting that Debo had all this stuff to say. Obviously, I clearly have a lot of thoughts on it, and I could do a whole podcast on this. I could do a series on social media trends, social media marketing, social media and sports, sports marketing. Like, this is my wheelhouse. So, with what Debo's talking about, I know what he's saying. I know what he's referencing, and I know what he's talking about. And um, because I also do think at one point, I've contributed, but it's also one thing that I've also identified and really tried to take a step back from that. So I understand. I understand what he's talking about. And so it's just fascinating to see. What do you guys think about what Debo Samuel had to say? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more updates.